The message arrived on a winter night, one of those cold metallic evenings where the wind scraped against skyscrapers like claws. Humanity didn't know where it came from at first. It wasn't routed through any known frequency, protocol, or spectrum. It simply appeared across every satellite feed, on every device, across every screen. A plea, a trembling voice of alien origin. To the species of Earth, we beg for aid. Our worlds fall to the Devourers. You are our final petition. Most of humanity thought it was a stunt, a hoax. But governments didn't. They scrambled, panicked, analyzed. The signal contained star charts, coordinates, and a distress beacon of unmistakable authenticity. And the aliens, they weren't calling for diplomats. They weren't calling for scientists. They weren't calling for peace. They were calling for warriors. Humanity debated what to send. Soldiers, weapons, drones. But in the end, the decision was simple, perhaps too simple. Earth sent its monsters, not literal beasts, but the closest thing humanity had, the most dangerous people Earth had ever produced, those built for conflict, sharpened by violence, and perfected by survival in a species that evolved, by clawing its way out of extinction. Some were soldiers, some were convicts, some were volunteers with nowhere left to go. All of them were killers. And among them was Major Elara Vance, the woman who had become a legend on a world that had never known what a human truly was. The call to Joreth Prime. The alien vessel that came to retrieve humanity's answer was called a luminary arc, a shimmering geometric construct of white planes and fractal angles. Its pilot, a being named Sothari, stood barely to Elara's waist, a thin avian figure with iridescent plumage dimmed by fear. "You must understand," Sothari said as the humans assembled in the docking bay. "The Devourers cannot be reasoned with. They consume, they destroy, they leave nothing behind. You humans are unique, resistant to radiation, resilient under stress, adaptive in combat. We need—" "Killers," grunted Corporal Drexhall, one of the convicts Earth had willingly released for this mission. Sothari's wings twitched with shame. "We need saviors." Elara strapped her gear and met the alien's eyes. "You called the wrong species if you were hoping for saints." "No," Sothari whispered. "We chose precisely." The journey to Joreth Prime took 11 days. On the final day, the Ark passed through a shimmering nebula that revealed beyond its veil a planet under siege. Joreth Prime was a garden world, emerald forests, cerulean oceans, sprawling crystal cities. Or at least it had been. Now pillars of black smoke coiled into the sky, firestorms spread across forests. Something large, very large, moved in the distant clouds, its silhouette like a serpent made of obsidian and hunger. Elara stared through the viewport. "What in hell is that?" "One of their feeders," Sothari whispered. "The smallest caste." "The smallest?" Sothari nodded, trembling. Drex let out a low whistle. Well, shit. The humans suited up, helmets locked, weapons charged, atmosphere equalized. The ramp opened, and they marched into war. Second monsters of a dying world. Joreth Prime's sky was bruised purple with smoke and die on fire. Alien soldiers, thin crystalline beings with insect-like limbs, scrambled around the humans in desperation, wielding plasma rifles that seemed far too delicate for the battlefield. Elara took one look and made a decision. "We take command," she ordered. Sothari hesitated. "Our guardian assembly is dying." Elara pointed to the horizon where a devourer crawler smashed through an iridescent spire, its jagged legs slicing the structure as if it were paper. "Your people need strategy, they need discipline, and right now they need us." Sothari swallowed hard and nodded. Elara climbed onto a half-destroyed barricade and yelled, "Humans, form up!" 60 humans snapped into formation. Convicts beside Marines, mercenaries beside volunteers. It didn't matter. They all shared one human trait. When things get bad, they get dangerous. The aliens watched with wide, glassy eyes as the humans coordinated effortlessly. Communication happening with curt gestures, shared instinct and experience born of thousands of years of violence. The first wave of Devourers hit minutes later. They came like a swarm, spined quadrupeds with chitin like steel and eyes like molten gold. Their mouths opened into fractal mandibles that clicked in hunger. The aliens fired wildly, panicked. The humans? They advanced. Elara led the charge, her rifle humming as she fired in controlled bursts. Drex wielded a heavy shotgun, its concussive blast spraying black ichor across the scorched ground. Sergeant Marek threw an incendiary into the densest cluster, lighting the sky orange. Within minutes, the first wave was dead. Black smoke curled from human weapons. Devourer corpses twitched in the dirt. Sathari stared in disbelief. You fight like devils." Elara wiped blood off her visor. "Devils are amateurs." But the battle was only beginning. As night fell, the ground rumbled. A massive shape burst from the forest, towering 30 meters high, its limbs a combination of claws, tendrils, and serrated blades. A harvester, the aliens called it. A living war machine that absorbed energy and biomass to grow ever larger. Alien troops fled in terror. The humans did not. "Send your people to the rear," Elara shouted to Sathari. "What will you do?" "Earn our passage home," the harvester charged, its tendrils whipping through the air like spears. One slammed into the earth where Drex had stood moments before. He rolled, swore, and unloaded both shotgun barrels into its knee joint. The harvester shrieked, stumbling. Marek fired a grappling line into its carapace and climbed, clinging to its side as it thrashed violently. "Gonna find something soft," he yelled. Elara sprinted beneath the creature, grabbed a thermal charge, activated the fuse, and slammed it into a softer region near its abdomen. "Clear," she roared. The humans scattered. The explosion ripped the harvester open, spraying steaming black fluids across the battlefield. The monster toppled, its fall shaking the ground like thunder. Silence followed. Even the alien soldiers stared in awe. Their crystalline armor glowed faintly in the moonlight as they whispered in disbelief. Sathari approached cautiously. "Your species. You are not like others." "No," Elara said simply. "We aren't." Third, the heart of the swarm. For 2 more days, the humans fought alongside the Jorethi, carving through devourer hordes, reclaiming territory, and teaching alien soldiers to fight with coordination rather than scattered fear. But the Devourers were not mindless. They were a collective, organized through a central intelligence, a vast subterranean consciousness that pulsed beneath the ruins of Joreth Prime's capital city. To end the war, they had to destroy this core. "Your people cannot enter," Sathari warned as the humans assembled outside the crater that led deep underground. "Radiation levels are lethal. Heat surpasses your survival limits. The tunnels are laced with corrosive spores." Elara smirked behind her visor. "You have outdated data. On what? Humans?" The descent into the core was brutal. Tunnels sloped downward in spirals. Heat shimmered in suffocating waves. Devourer drones crawled across walls like armored insects, but the humans carved a path through them with brutal precision. As they neared the heart, the structure changed. No longer natural rock, but organic tissue. The walls pulsed like veins. Tendrils quivered as they sensed intruders. Drex made a disgusted noise. "This place feels like the inside of a giant's stomach." "Focus," Elara said. The core chamber opened before them, an immense cavern filled with a massive, pulsating mass of neural flesh. Glowing synapses crackled across its surface. The Devourer's central consciousness. It spoke, not with words but with a low vibration that rumbled through bone and marrow. "You are anomalies, flesh that fights flesh. You cannot win." "Elara," Marek whispered. "It knows we're human." She raised her weapon. "Good. Means it knows what's coming." The core shifted, forming limbs, long bladed tendrils reaching out like spears. The chamber erupted into chaos. Humans dodged, fired, and struck with everything they had. The temperature rose. Air shimmered. Suits strained to compensate. Drex took a hit, tendrils slicing through his armor, sending him crashing to the ground. He coughed blood. "Charge the damn thing already, before it cooks us alive." Elara sprinted, weaving between tendrils. She leaped onto a raised ridge, jammed her last thermal charge deep into the core and activated it. The Devourer screamed, not with sound but with a psychic blast that shook the cavern itself. "Run!" she shouted. The humans sprinted up the tunnel as the explosion consumed the chamber behind them. Fire and shock waves chased their heels, collapsing tunnels and vaporizing organic walls. They burst into daylight just as the ground convulsed. Massive fissures split across the city. Plumes of black smoke rose like geysers. The Devourer swarm shrieked in a chorus of dying minds. Then, silence. The hive was dead. Fourth saviors or monsters? For the first time in days, Joreth Prime's skies were clear. Crystal spires glimmered in the sunlight, though many lay broken. Forests still smouldered, but the fires no longer spread. The Devourer forces, leaderless, wandered aimlessly before withering away. The Jorethi gathered in the plaza of the capital, survivors standing in rows of iridescent armor. Their fractured voices chimed like wind through glass as Elara approached. Sothari stood before them. "You have saved our world, but there is something we must ask." He hesitated. "Are all humans like you?" Elara looked at her team, scarred, exhausted, stained with ichor and soot. "No," she said. "Most humans aren't soldiers. Most are builders, teachers, children. They strive for peace." "Then why," Sothari asked softly, "did your world send you?" Elara considered her answer carefully. "Because humanity understands something most species don't." She looked over the ruined city. "When someone calls for help, you don't send diplomats. You don't send ideals. You send the ones willing to cross hell to pull others out. Warriors, survivors." Sothari's feathers shimmered. "Monsters?" Elara half smiled. "Sometimes monsters are exactly what you need to fight the darkness." A long silence passed. Then Sothari lifted his staff and bowed, deeply, reverently. The entire assembly did the same. Their armor casting refracted sunlight across the plaza like 1,000 tiny rainbows. "Humans of Earth," Sothari declared, "you will forever be known as the Dawnbringers. The ones who plunged into the shadow and returned with fire." Drek spat blood onto the ground and winced. "Dawnbringers. I like that." Marek laughed. "Better than monsters of Earth." Elara looked at the sky, bright now, unmarred by smoke. Their mission was complete, but something in her gut told her this wasn't the end of Earth's involvement. The galaxy was larger than anyone realized, and danger didn't vanish with one dead hive. Still, for today humanity had earned peace. Fifth epilogue, What the Galaxy Whispers. Weeks later, news of Joreth Prime's salvation spread like wildfire across the stars. Species whispered of Earth, of the primitive world with sentience made for war. Some feared humanity, some revered them. A few wanted alliances, a few wanted distance. One thing was universal: no one ever again mistook humans for prey. Deep in the cosmic dark, a new message traveled between stars. When the Devourers rose, we called for saviors. But Earth sent its monsters, and we are grateful. Elara Vance stood aboard the returning Ark, watching starlight ripple across the hull. She didn't know what awaited them on Earth. She didn't know what new threats lurked in distant galaxies. But she knew one thing: if the universe ever called again, humanity would answer, and the monsters of Earth would rise once more.